Welcome back to another episode of Margarita Mondays with your hosts Jessica Whitney and Laura Kerr.
Today we're going to talk about, what did I even say? The addiction to negativity.
The addiction to negativity, yeah.
We're going to talk about society's addiction with negativity. Mm-hmm. And the reason we came to the conclusion that this is something that needs to be talked about is because I think that a lot of people feel like they're living in a very polarized time where there's a lot of conflicting views and people who seem like they're fighting against one another. And I was saying earlier to Jessica that is simply a distraction. Mm-hmm. A distraction from, she had said, taking accountability for your own life, mm-hmm. Right? So as long as you have an addiction to negativity or an addiction to complaining or an addiction to being a victim, you are not going to be living the life that you truly, truly desire. Mm-hmm. The really cool thing is when you wake up to it all, it's going to feel so fucking good and easy. Holy. Jessica and I talk a lot about how everything is energy and how often I don't necessarily describe them as good or bad. I usually describe them as light, like energy is light or heavy. Mm-hmm. So when you're around someone who complains a lot, do you feel energized and light when you leave?
Hell no. And this is why people will turn to margaritas. Just so you guys know, these are non-alcoholic margaritas today. We're not against drinking, but we've become aware of when we use not just alcohol, anything to numb out the pain of the things that feel heavy. Like we all have done it, right? Mm-hmm. Like I even remember one time when I had a friend over, and when she left, I went to go get a drink. And I had this aha moment where I was like, why am I drinking? And it was because I was feeling the heavy energy that she left behind when she left.
Right.
And so now, instead of choosing alcohol to mask that, I start to recognize things that give me energy or suck the energy out of me. Or like you said, that feel heavy or light. And I choose more that makes me feel good. Of course, there's still times when we feel heaviness. Yep. But that's all a part of the process. But the more you can choose the things that feel good, the more you're going to want to do that. Yeah. Right? And so people become addicted to complaining because, our brains are hardwired to look for the negative, because years ago we had to watch out for threats. So if somebody threatened you, you kept that in your consciousness so that you would be prepared in case they were going to harm you. But now we don't live in a time where people are killing people and you don't have to have to fight for your life. So we want to think more on the positive. We want to think of, the good things that are happening so we can create more good things. But we realize, and this is what we're going to talk about today, is that a lot of people let the outside world dictate how they feel. And we've learned how to go within ourselves to feel good. And that dictates the world that we live in, right? Like nothing is real. So we see everything through the lens of which we are and what we think. Mm-hmm. So we just wanted to talk about how easy it is for people to get addicted to thinking that life is out to get them.
Also, how easy it is to transform the way you think, mm-hmm. Right? And just because you have an addiction to negativity, and if you're feeling triggered right now, then I invite you to just take a deep breath. Mm-hmm.
Lean into that.
Yeah, lean into it, because this is something that may have triggered me 10 years ago. An addiction to negativity. What do you mean I'm addicted? I'm not addicted. It's just there's negativity everywhere, right? Not in my world. I remember actually, I think I was on a plane with Owen. And Owen and I were going on a mother-son trip. And I ended up talking to a woman on the plane, and we got talking, and she started talking about how so many women are out to get each other and women don't lift each other up, and she was going on and on and on. And then I had this realization that that might be true in her world, but I live in a completely different world, right? So I actually said, that's not my experience. And I think she kind of was surprised because she was probably looking to invite me in on this negativity roller coaster because it's something that she may be addicted to. And I didn't get on because I'm not interested in conversations like that, right? Like Jessica said, the reason our brains are hardwired to tune in to negative things is we're hardwired to look for threats so that we survive. And currently, and for many of us, we don't have a lot of threats surrounding us. And so we almost like create these threats through this addiction to negativity. And then it becomes a habit that you live every single day. And then you usually surround yourself with people who are also addicted to negativity. And so you do feel like this is what the world is like. But it doesn't have to be, because you can get addicted to positivity. You can get addicted to really, truly appreciating things. You can get into the habit of living a satisfied moment after moment, after moment, after moment, and just feel light, right?
Yeah. And it's like, I think the thing that I needed to realize, and that I hope all of you that are listening to this today, is just becoming aware of your current habits. Like, are you someone who turns on the news? Are you listening to all the garbage that's all over social media? Because I love social media and I think there's a lot of positivity, a lot of inspiration, a lot of education, a lot of value. And then there's other people that believe that social media is toxic and it's detrimental to the young people and whatever. So, how can one thing, the same thing, be so different for two people? And it's because it's based on our own lens, right? So for social media, I made the commitment and made the decision because I saw the benefit of focusing on the things that made me feel good. So I made a commitment to unfollow anybody who was talking shit and talking about all the negative and judging people and criticizing and gossiping and all that stuff. So I made the decision to unfollow them, block them from my view. I don't watch the news. I don't read the newspaper. I don't listen to people complaining anymore. And my life changed because I made that decision. It's that simple. It's, we can all coexist in the same world and have completely different experiences. And it's not that I have a more joyous experience because I'm lucky, because I was just blessed with, a better life than other people. And trust me, people will try to say that, but it's because I consciously choose it day in and day out. Even with the stuff that's going on with Diddy right now, I haven't looked up any of it. As much as it's like interesting to hear about it, I did send you one thing.
I was just gonna say
Griffith.
Yeah.
It was funny, so I found humor in it. But some people will say to me, well, Jessica, you have to be aware of what's going on in the world. Jessica, you need to be in the know. And I'm like, says who? Says who? You may think that's important, but to me, I've taken full responsibility for my life and my life only. And feeling good is at the top of my priority list. So listening to any of that stuff doesn't make me feel good. But there are some people who can be in the know and disconnect from any negative emotion, right? They can be in the know and not take any of that on. And I can do that now. Like, if anybody tells me about the stuff that's going on with Diddy, I can, listen and it doesn't affect me. But years ago, that would have affected me.
Right.
I would have taken on all of the pain and suffering of the victims that were involved because I didn't know how to protect my own energy.
Right. Yes, and the only information I really have on that is what Jessica sent me. It's a Kathy Griffin video where she's eating a tuna melt sandwich and she says a little bit about Diddy. But yes, I wanted to say Facebook, for example, is a really, really, really clear insight as to what your thoughts and beliefs are. And here's why, okay? I'm very intentional with social media as well. I made a decision years ago to stop watching the news. If there's something that I need to know, someone is going to inform me. And if I need to look into it further, then I will. And so I remember probably during a large political time, how people's views were so polarized. And I was like, where are people even getting this information? Well, because there's an algorithm that's been invented with Facebook or different social media platforms, you get more of what you see and what you like and what you respond to. And so if you are seeing negativity on your Facebook page or your Instagram or your TikTok, this is a very clear indication that you're very likely addicted to negativity. And I'll give you an example of something that I watched on my social media today. It was a video of a woman who has a squirrel named Glenda that stalks her.
I saw that too.
Glenda follows her around everywhere. And then Glenda decided to bring all her men around. And there was a Glen 1 and a Glen 2 and a Glen 3. And then Glenda had some babies and she brings her babies around too. Anyways, they've become great friends. So this is an indication of the things I focus on. I love animals. I love people who love animals. I see lots of sunsets and pictures of the aurora borealis. And if you're seeing a lot of negativity on your Facebook, this is an area where you can begin to practice choosing not to fall into those traps, because essentially this stuff is clickbait. The more negative, the more likely many people are to follow and go deeper. And so becoming aware of the way we think and whether or not we're addicted to negativity can be easily done by looking at your Facebook, your Instagram, or your TikTok pages. What is there for you? Okay? Because my For You looks very different from, say, for example, my neighbor's For You page, right? And this is an indication of where your focus is going.
Let's talk about the pandemic for a second, because I remember when COVID became a thing and every different part of the world made different rules and people were trying their best. But because there was such a drastic shift in how we were living life, because people were trying to make decisions to protect people, there was this huge uproar. People were like, you can't tell me what to do, or they're telling me I can't work, or I have to shut down my business, or this or that. And like, to me, that was such a great time in my life, because that showed me what was within me. And so if other people can take that as an opportunity to see what was within them, which some people are not ready to see it yet, and that's okay. But I saw that people were angry and they were blaming the government for their unhappiness and controlling them and making their life miserable. And I just think, nobody made my life miserable. I actually found more joy during that time. I was like, I had more time for hiking. I had more time to decide what I wanted for my life. You know, it was kind of like a reset for me, because we had to take a little break from work. And so I was like, what would I really love? And that's actually when I invested into myself in a program that taught me the importance of my mindset and what I think and how that impacts my life. And so I find it super interesting how people thought that that was such a bad time in their life and the world was ending and nothing was working out for them and they had no control over anything and people were taking away the things that they loved, and it was just negative, 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 negative. And actually there were some people in my life that were very negative, But now I see them as teachers because for a moment I was letting it affect me by them being negative. And what I learned was that I am choosing to feel that way. So even though someone else is negative, if I think negatively about that, it just brings me to the vibration of what they're doing that I'm judging and brings me to the same vibration as them, right? So instead, I was like, what if I could just choose joy, focus on myself, and let them choose that? Like, I want everybody to live a joyous life. So I was trying to control how other people were viewing the pandemic so that we could all live a joyous life and how we could understand that everybody was trying their very best. But that was still me trying to control something that was out of my control. The only thing I can control is myself. So when I released that, it brought me way more joy. And I just let the people who wanted to be negative be negative. Yeah. I let them think that the world was over and the government was ruining their life, because if that's what they want to choose, they're allowed to choose that, right? But I look back on that time as a time where I learned so much about myself and how I was giving my power away, even to the people that I really loved. And then the more I focused on me and feeling good about myself and my life and seeing life through the lens of love, the people that were letting that affect them, I started to see them even differently, because when you're on a high vibration and you feel good all the time, even if people are in a negative mindset, you don't see that because you're just on a different frequency, right? Definitely. So it's so interesting that even the negative experiences, the difficult times, the times when people don't know what they're doing, it's all an opportunity for us to continue growing.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that the pandemic was a pivotal time in my life as well. And it has created and sort of like mixed up and stirred up and brought to the surface everything that we are meant to heal, is what I feel like.
Yeah.
And so for myself, during the pandemic, I was still working as a social worker. It created clarity for me that I could serve more in different ways. So I worked my butt off for like a year during the pandemic, and then I was like, other people can do this job. And then finally left, and then you and I both invested in like our mindset and started studying beliefs and assumptions and the power of manifestation. And so it just goes to show that our perception of the way things are is simply a reflection of our insides and how we feel about ourselves. And so if you're seeing all of these negative things, what is it that you're thinking and feeling about yourself? You know, and you don't even have to unpack all of that to make a change.
Right.
You don't. You can just begin to bring your awareness to the fact that, hey, I'm hardwired to pay more attention to negativity. I prefer to bring my focus over here to positivity. And, you know, Jessica was talking about, you know, being around some people where she would kind of bring her energy down. Sometimes for a period of time, you have to just completely not see those people. And it might not be forever, but it might be, right? And so while you're figuring out how to regulate your own emotions and regulate your own energy, you might have to distance yourself from some of the people that might be in your life most right now.
And I started asking myself, does this benefit me? So if I'm around people and they're just talking about how life is hard and things are not going their way, I ask myself, does this conversation benefit me? Does being in this circle benefit me? And I realized that I just felt like crap after gossiping, talking about the things that were not going well. And I started to make those changes, right? And it's not perfect. We still have our days when we, you know, we feel like it helps us to feel good about like sharing the things that are not going well. But I got more and more clarity on how that doesn't make me feel better. So sometimes it's good to just identify the feeling, like, oh, I'm feeling sad for myself. I'm feeling a little like, you know, having a little pity party for a moment. And then I'm like, let it go. release it and what would I love? And I really started focusing on like, what would I love for myself? What would I love to see in my environment? And yeah, I did have to release some people. Like I was getting together with friends that were just talking about how life is hard and gossiping about people. And I did it too. Like it doesn't make them a bad person for doing that. It's just something I don't want to do anymore.
Right. I got really clear about how there were some instances where I might be in a group where people would take you on a downward spiral. So you might have arrived feeling good, and then when you leave, you feel like you spiraled all the way down to maybe even like anger or resentment, whatever it is. And so I believe you should surround yourself with people who take you on an upward spiral, who uplift you, and be an uplifter too. Because if you're an uplifter, you're going to eventually find the group that everybody wants to lift each other up, right? And you will get addicted to feeling good.
Oh, totally.
You really will. And I remember listening to a spiritual teacher, I'm sure many of them have said this, and they said, change starts from within. So one of the most powerful things you can do to change the world is to just decide that you're going to find a way to be happy and serve in a really beautiful way. Because you just being a joyful human impacts the world in so many ways you're never even going to know all of the ways.
Yeah, and Abraham Hicks says, when you are tapped in and in alignment with your source, the creator, and when you're tapped in, that's when you feel good. Your emotions are your guide. So when you're feeling good, it means you're in resonance with your source. When you are connected to source, one person connected to source is more powerful than millions of people who are not.
Right.
So we think like, me being happy, what's that going to do? It's like one person being happy is so much more powerful than millions of people who are not. So you see that ripple effect, like, and I just think it's so powerful to focus on yourself. And I feel like we're all changing the world. Like everybody is becoming more aware of themselves and they're becoming more aware of how you create your own reality because more and more people are talking about it. And I do see us on a trajectory of changing the whole planet. Like even Dr. Joe Dispenza, he is offering these meditations where you walk with the world. So literally thousands of people are all tuning in and doing the same meditation at the same exact time. And I went to the beach the other day to do it. And a girl on the beach actually messaged me and said, oh my goodness, like your energy was so powerful. And I was like, I was doing a meditation, like with a lot of people in the world. And she's like, wow, I could feel it.
That's cool.
And it's pretty cool that, one person, like it took Dr. Joe is one person. And then he started sharing with people. And it's like people started finding that comfort and that ease and that joy and that love and that healing. And it just has this ripple effect. And, it feels so good to be in a place of love and gratitude and fulfillment,
Yeah. Get addicted to love. Get addicted to light.
Notice what you're addicted to.
Yeah. And know that becoming aware is the first step. So denial will get you nowhere.
Just notice it without judgment.
Like,
it's totally okay.
Get curious. Like, why do I think this way? Why do I feel like everybody's against me? Get curious about those things. And then from there, hopefully you'll be led to the next thing that's going to show you how you can begin to spiral up versus continuing this negativity spiral down.
So become aware of what you're listening to, who you're hanging around, what you're thinking, what you're feeling. Just make the conscious decision that you're going to change one small thing every single day. And parent yourself, if you want to better your life and you want to have a more joyful experience. Like I myself, still to this day, have to parent myself when it comes to certain things, like going to the gym. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to go. But I'm like, get your ass down to the gym and you'll feel better. So same with whatever you want to change right now, you may have to parent yourself because it may be a habit to get in the comment section on Facebook and
You might be a troll.
You might be addicted to getting in the comment section, which is totally okay. There's no judgment, but notice it and then start removing yourself from those groups. Like I noticed there's a group, whatever, we're not going to talk about where it is. And I just noticed it's like a place for people to complain. And I thought to myself,
I'm leaving.
My responsibility to be like, I gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
Even my mom, I taught her something, to me very simple and for her very powerful. When she was living in Costa Rica, she was moving back to Canada and wanted to sell a few things. And she posted a few items for sale. And it's like, I don't know what it is, and we don't need to know why. But it's like everybody wants to share their opinion on how whatever you're selling is not worth it or it's whatever. And so people were rude. You're asking that much for that, or that's not in good shape, or I could make that myself, whatever. Whatever people want to say.
It. Go make it yourself.
So she was really becoming offended because she felt in alignment with what she was offering and the price that she was asking. And so all I said to her was, Mom, you got to block those people. They do not deserve to have access to whatever it is that you're selling. And you are responsible for your own energy. And if that's affecting your energy, you got to do something about it. So we can all, get to a place where we just remove people and there's no emotion involved. It doesn't take us out at all. It's like block people, remove people, stop turning on the news. If you live with somebody, you're married to somebody who wants to listen to the news and it does not feel good for you, headphones. Headphones are a beautiful thing. Get yourself your own TV, move into your bedroom. There's so many ways that you can, start to remove those things from your life. And the one thing I want to offer you is to focus only on yourself. If your partner is focused on the negative, let him or let her focus on yourself. I talk to so many of my one-on-one clients. They talk to me about their partners being negative and they want them to be on the same page as them. And I said, don't even worry about them for a minute. Focus on yourself. And when you start to elevate your energy, they will either come up with you or they'll float away. They'll be goners if they're not good, right? Like, yeah, you'll be so happy, such a little ray of sunshine that they're going to start to notice.
And and they're either going to catch up or they're going to float away and you're going to find another little ray of sunshine to have in your life.
But this is, if you are looking for something tangible to improve the quality of your life, pay attention to what is sucking the life out of you and remove it now. Remove it immediately.
Yeah. Or even rather than focusing on removing, because maybe that doesn't feel good for you. If you think the world is such a bad place, go be a bright light in the world. Go do nice things for people. Mm-hmm. Go help that lady with her heavy groceries. Mm-hmm. Maybe buy that guy a coffee. Mm-hmm. Maybe say hello to someone you wouldn't necessarily have said hello to before. Have fun with someone. My goal every time I make a purchase in real life, let's be real, I prefer to shop online. But if I'm going to make a purchase in real life, my goal is to have fun with the person. And listen, I always get the best cashier everywhere I go, right?
Not because it's a stroke of good luck.
No, because they're a reflection of me.
Yeah.
And I've decided that we're going to have fun in that moment. Mm-hmm. Even if a moment ago they weren't having much fun. They're having fun once I come to the cash register. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I move silently.
Yeah, but guys, we have so much power. So go out, be a bright light, remove the negativity from your life. It's super easy to unfollow people. Mm-hmm. And, we would love to hear what you guys think about this topic today, and being in the know with what's going on in the world and how you can transmute that energy into something good, because there's always the opportunity to make something good of everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cheers.